Yeah. Yes, serving anybody is good. I do suggest you not just survey the students, but how can you do more? How can you get more benefit out of it related to the practicum? I'm talking about class now. I'm talking about cross-cultural communications. You have a class activity. You should become a specialist in cross-cultural communications. You start by developing a research project. But how can you become more of a specialist when you're surveying? How is it better for yourself? You could survey classmates. That's one thing. What's another level? Executives of the companies that you want to work with. That is best. But especially when you're communicating with people in Korea, what is Korean culture? How is Korean culture? How can you describe Korean culture as it's different than Canadian culture or German culture or French culture? How is Korean culture fairly specific or unique? Related to a student trying to get a job, especially. How would you describe Korean culture?
Level-wise, when students are at a lower level, executives are at a higher level.
Hierarchical, yes. So there's levels of people at the bottom. Students are usually at the bottom, and then you have maybe people working, and then you might have managers, and you might have directors, vice presidents, and then presidents, or sometimes professors, they say, are at the top. Korean culture is made that way. And usually they don't talk very often if you're in a different level. So if you're a student, it's not usually easy to talk to somebody at a higher level, like a manager or a director. But there's ways to fix that. How? What do you guess you could do to fix that? And it's the same question when I talk about what is Korean culture. It is level-based, but what else is describing Korean culture? Who are cultural experts? Hofstede is one. Hall is another. Trompenaar, Schwartz, Cluckhorn, those are all. What does Hofstede say? What are his 4 main cultural dimensions?
Power distance.
I couldn't hear you.
One of the cultural dimension of Hofstede study is the power distance, which is quite high.
Power distance is very important. So people at the top of the hierarchy will not talk to or deal with people at the bottom of the hierarchy. Exactly. So students need to learn extra tricks to communicate with them. And that's what we're talking about. Power distance is one of Hofstede's cultural dimensions. There's 6, but 4 are important. Power distance, masculinity or femininity. Yes, some people are masculine or career oriented. Some people are feminine, which is usually relationship oriented. Good. I don't find that makes that much of a difference for surveying anyway, but yes, that is very important for Hofstede. What's another one? There's 4 of them. Sorry, uncertainty avoidance. Yes, many people are afraid to talk to people they don't know. They're afraid to talk to hint people in a different group outside of my group. So what is that 3rd group called? Collectivism and individualism, right? In Korea, it's highly collectivist society. China, Japan, and Korea, very group oriented. So you need to be in their group. What are some examples of groups? How do Korean people think of groups? What are examples of groups? Really? Everybody's been quiet? Somebody online. Hua, pick somebody online. Who's going to describe types of groups in Korea?
Maybe Jun Min Jun is being paying attention, so maybe you can answer Dr. Professor questions. Min Jun. Jun Min Jin, we don't get anything from you. I think you're on mute. Or Zaniga or Will.
If we're asking the Korean person, they don't talk because they have high uncertainty avoidance. If you go to a company and ask somebody, if people in the company don't know you, if you're not part of their work group, same thing, they might not talk to you. So did you pick another person, Hua?
Yeah, I think Makalisa, can you comment on the cultural dimension of Hofstede?
About what kind of groups it could be?
I'm not just talking about Hofstede's groups. These are Hofstede's groups. And so power distance is just talking about some people are very high power in society, some people are low power. There's different levels of society. That's understood. Collectivism and individualism. Korea is not individualistic. Canada and the United States is individualistic. We are focused on individual facts, individual details, individual papers or responsibilities, versus in Korea, they're focused on groups of things, groups of people, groups of, one example is a group of students. If you're in the same university, even if you've already graduated, you're still the same group of that university. So all alumni and students should be able to help each other more in East Asia than in France or in Canada or in the United States. For example, somebody that went to my university in Canada, maybe I like them, but I don't need to really connect with them. But in Korea, if somebody did go to the same university, whether you like them or not, you should help them. There's an unwritten rule of being part of the same family within the school. That's one group. So I'm asking you, what are more groups like that? Group thinking. What is a collective unit? Schools are one. What's another? Who do you want to serve?
Jobs, like workers.
Family.
Employers who working in one organization.
This company and engineers for that company usually don't talk to each other. So you said jobs. Can you clarify on that?
Yeah, like workers at our company.
Inside the company, right? Anybody for Samsung should help people in Samsung. Good. Anybody at Hyundai should help people from Hyundai. Anybody from the same company should help each other. So if you want to survey this group of people in Samsung, and you know these groups, a different group from Samsung, rather than you go direct and you don't know them, it's better to have your friends inside Samsung introduce you. You'll get a lot better results. Or related to the engineers, as we were talking about, if you know the association of all engineers, yeah, that's inside, that's connected. That could be better for surveying or introducing you to people in there than just going direct. Individual directness doesn't work as well as working with the group. What else? Any other groups you know of? Anybody else? There's geography. How is geography a group?
From the same city.
Anybody from the same city or from the same province? Yes. Many years ago, traditionally, it was very, very important. If you're from the same province or state as me, I'm supposed to help you. I'm supposed to hire you faster and easier than somebody from a different province or state. Good. So same geographic location, same company location, same school, all of those things are important.
Religion also could be same religion. People from, like, they are grouping Islamic religion and Christianity. I mean, the same religions group.
In other countries, yes. In Korea, almost everybody is part of the same religion. Yes, there are some Buddhist religious groups that can help you. There are some Christian people that can help you. Religion is not really as developed as other countries where you will have a lot of other religions. Yes, Mukalisa, do you guys know, is there a big association of certain international religions that you know of here in Korea?
Islam? What I know from the point of view of foreigners.
Okay, what I hear right now is related to Paul. And so I hear somebody, whoever's talking online, you're saying one or two words, you understand it, but because it's only one or two, three words, I don't know what you're saying. I am from a country. Can you tell me if I'm from Canada, am I from a low context or high context culture? Good guess. What's the alternative? Right, high context uses few words. So the context is the environment. In Korea, the environment where you are at school, what time of day, what type of clothes you're wearing, who's older, who's younger, all of that context is always being communicated with people. So you'll only need one or two words. So high context means low numbers of words. Low context, like Canada or United States, we don't care about your clothes. We don't care about the time of day. We don't care about the other environment. Everything we say is clarified with a lot of details. Even that the comma or the grammar can completely change a legal contract. So you have to be very specific, use a lot of words in low context cultures. So Mukalisa was just using one or two words. I didn't understand what she was saying. What I think she's saying is that there may be an, I don't know, Islamic or Muslim association in Korea. Great. So if you are part of those, they could help, but they're not as developed as the corporate groups or the university groups or especially the family groups. Blood and the family is the most important. Any idea what's different with Japan? Is any of that different in Japan? How is family considered different? In Korea, family means you have to have the same blood. Like there's, I don't know how many millions of parks, but if you're not from the same father, mother, or cousin, you're from a different park line, you're not the same family. And so even if you adopt a Canadian child, that boy or that girl, that baby from a different culture, they will have often have a very difficult time in Korea because they don't have the Korean blood. And a lot of people might not accept them. Versus in Japan, the idea of family is more broad. It's not completely blood focused. If you adopt somebody or marry somebody, or you have somebody joining your culture or your company from a different culture, as long as you show loyalty and you're helping and you're trying to be part of that family, whether it's a company or an actual relative family, then you will be considered family in Japan, not as much here. So that's one difference. Make sure you are aware when you're doing your surveying, for you developing your specialization as a cross-cultural communication expert, you must understand who you're trying to target, number one. And then how can you communicate with them? If you just go as a young student to talk to them, you are from a different group. You're from a student group, not working group, not experienced group. They are experienced. They won't talk to you. They are uncertainty avoiding, and they don't know you. They will avoid you. How can you talk to them then? Let's say you want to talk to an executive in Samsung. Okay, great. How? Absolutely, you must adapt.
By knowing and by just what you said in your courses to practice, to learn and practice the current culture.
Okay, so what we see here, culture, there's many different definitions of it. We have talked a lot about Hofstede. Hofstede is talking a lot about power distance, individualism, uncertainty avoidance. Let's see, power distance, individualism, uncertainty avoidance. I'm missing one. Masculinity, yes, you're right. Masculinity or femininity. It's not this. Career orientation, quality of life. That is the new definition. This is the one he usually uses, right? So those four is Hofstede. Another one is Hall, talking about the high context, low context, things like that, or space and time. Cluckhorn and Schwartz is another cultural expert, talking about the relationship to nature, relationship to people, relationship to time, human activities. Trompenar is another cultural expert I like. He talks about universalism, particularism, individualism, collectivism, specific, diffuse, neutral, effective, several different things here, including the time in relationship to the environment. Schwartz is another one. Globe is the most recent. They're talking about many different aspects of that. And if you go through, this is describing many different details describing that in the notes. There's many different details of that, including this is the globe. Power distance, hierarchical, egalitarian, uncertainty avoidance, time and work, environmentalism, the mastery of things versus harmony of things, social relationships. So these are all different ways to connect. Let's get right to the main point of it. How can you connect with people? Let's say you want to work for Samsung. Samsung is one of the most famous companies in Korea, or the most famous companies in the world. You're a young student. You want to talk to who? The head of HR? Let's try it. Or the head of sales, international sales in Samsung? Great, let's try it. How would you do that?
First, you meet the people at the bottom of the ladder.
Okay.
The hierarchy.
Great.
You ask if you can speak to one above until you get to contact the head of the hierarchy.
You have read my notes. Thank you for reading this. This is talking about here. This is actually talking about don't bother people, start at the bottom, work your way up. I think that's talking about it here. Don't talk too much. The questions. Anyway, it's explained in here. It's best if you start by talking to the parking lot manager, and then you talk to the front door man and learn a little bit more. Take you what you learned from the front door man, and then talk to a young worker about details. After you learn a little bit more, maybe you can talk to an assistant manager or a secretary. And then after you learn it a little bit more, you can talk to the manager. After you learn a little bit more, then you can talk to the director. Things like that. That's how it works. But if you're not going to walk to the company and wait in the parking lot, if we're working online with reality, what can you do today? How can you use what I was showing you here? How many of you have your LinkedIn profile started? With the shaking head, terrible, terrible. You want to communicate with other people, but I guess it's only for play, not for actual success or for serious things. The ones that are starting, I highly encourage all of you to make your LinkedIn and start connecting with people now. You started to talk about how Korean people are hierarchical, and there's different levels of success. If you want to talk to somebody that's successful, they will often look at your LinkedIn to find out who are you. Should I talk to them? Are they at the same level as me or not? If you're not in LinkedIn, they will probably think you're not serious. You're just playing, which if for work, it's not going to help. So what could you do? What do you need to do? Did you say that you are in LinkedIn? Not yet? You should. What about you? Jules, yes, you're in LinkedIn. Can you tell the group how many connections do you have now? What do you look like? If somebody in Samsung, like you want to talk to a director in Samsung and they check you out, what will they think about you?
They will think that you're very hot. This is my student's picture. They took the audience can see, but yeah, that's, I have 133 connections. And yeah, that's my formal picture right now.
A suit and a
A
tie.
suit,
something
yeah,
like-
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so they will think that you're a serious business person, except you're not that serious because you only have 100 people connected to you.
Yeah.
Right, but you are more serious than other people that have no profile or no connections. How can you make it even better? Are you Gwen? Is that right? No? Rosie, can you suggest how could he make his profile even better? He has 100 connections now. What would help the Samsung guy give him a little bit more respect, little bit higher chance of talking to him? Absolutely. Good. That's one point. Yes. What's another? Okay. What usually do people see when they go to Facebook? What usually do people see when they go to LinkedIn? One of the first things they see is how successful are you? What does that mean? How many connections do you have usually? After that, how many people have been saying you're good, giving you endorsements or recommendations? So I would highly encourage you to get every one of your students and teammates to give you an endorsement in your LinkedIn profile. The more connections you have, the better you look. So I think it's more than 10,000 connections. This has more than 500. In addition to that, you can scroll down and this isn't the public thing, this is the inside details, but you can also see the about, the background, the resumes. There's also the experience. What experience do you want to list? In addition to that, keep going. Education, what education do you have? This is what I wanted to focus on. All of you as students, you can start showing the people in Samsung you have those skills they want, or they desire, or they respect. And more importantly, how many endorsements do you have? You should get your classmates to start giving you endorsements, recommendations. Those would help quite a bit. What about if you start contacting some people? Like what I'm doing here, these people, Paul Hussey, he's the global head of HR for Samsung. And Alonzo is one of the senior executive international consultants to the chairman of Samsung Electronics. Same thing, Boni Nam, I believe, is his boss, senior executive working with the chairman of Samsung Electronics all of the time. So you can start seeing them. Anybody can see their details online anytime. If we take a look at this, we can see this guy is Samsung Electronics. He studied at this university. It's a different university. Maybe it's a little bit harder to connect with him from here. But how can you connect with this guy? He is one of the top executives of Samsung in charge of international sales and development. If you do want to connect with him, what are some creative ideas you could use? I'll give you a hint. Let's scroll through here.
We can ask you to endorse us.
Okay,
Because
since he's a friend of mine, yes. What else? Start looking closely now. He's worked at Samsung many years. He started at low level. What did he start at before that? He was actually managing the saving sales and HR in Apple in Miami in North America. What about here? Here's a hint.
Oh, can I say, oh, we were in the same university, but this is not our university.
Good, that's one idea. Or you can also join this group in Facebook or join this group of the university in LinkedIn. And then because you're part of the same group, then you could contact them. It doesn't mean you have to be a student there to join their group. Usually, yes, but it's something to think about. What else do you see? that you could connect with. Let me remind you again how we usually work. This way. This is what I usually tell you to do for class activity. So why do I tell you in our class, you should basically each week, we have more than 10 weeks. Week 1, get a good, very reliable, very respected journal article. It's worth $30 to $50. Sometimes they're $1,000 each article. Here's another one, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5. You keep trying to get good, reliable, respected journal articles because they're very valuable. And then whatever you get, hopefully it's related to one area, you put them together into a package, into your PPT, and you summarize it to the world or this person born now, and you teach them something new. Eventually, if you write it down and publish it, even better. So now let's take a look at these. You can't see where these are from. But what is your connection here? How could you be connected? Come on, you're killing me. Harvard Business Review is one of the world's most famous business journals. So since he has a connection, he studied with Harvard. Most people in the world have to pay a lot of money to read that Harvard journal, Harvard Business Review. You could download all of those articles and show him the Harvard Business Review inside here again. You could show him you have many different Harvard Business Review articles related to a topic that you know he's interested in. And that alone might interest him, saying, cool, let me take a look at those things. And he wants to talk to you, probably more than you want to talk to him, just to get those files. Okay? You want to survey him, you show him that he wants to talk to you. Let's back up a little bit. I am already in LinkedIn. So I'm connected with him. I can message him anytime. But if I'm a student and I'm brand new in LinkedIn, I don't have any connections yet. You can start finding people and they change it. You're not allowed to message right away. You're allowed to do what? You guys know? You remember? When you first join, it says you can connect. This blue button says to connect or more or other. You can connect probably to, I don't know if it's 10 people or 100 people each week. Just push the button and you can connect with lots, hundreds of people. But it's just the connection. They don't know who you are. They don't know anything about it. It's, you want to connect, you want to be friends, yes or no. It's basic. But if you're trying to communicate with him, you could, if you're wealthy, if you have money, pay money to be a member, a premium member of LinkedIn, and then they will allow you to send files, pictures, photos, a lot more information when you're messaging. The alternative, most students are keeping the free profile that costs nothing, and you can make a personalized invitation. By sending a personal invitation, you're allowed to give them maybe a paragraph to explain why you should connect. In that paragraph, you could start surveying them. But remember, they're at the top of the hierarchy. They don't know who you are. Uncertainty avoidance, they might say no. If they're powerful and they think you're not powerful, they could say no. So what could you do? You need to think, what is one paragraph you could say to impress them? For example, you have that 25 articles from Harvard Business Review about something he's interested in. Understand? Let's take a look at that next article. So this guy, the head of global talent acquisition at Samsung. His job is finding and hiring people, talking to people. Both of them, they are talking to people around the world all the time. How do you know what he's doing? How do you know what he's interested in? How can you communicate with him? If he's a Korean person, he will have very high uncertainty avoidance. He will have a high level of thinking. High people can't talk to low people. So how do you relate? How do you connect better? You could also see not just his highlights or about, but the activity. This can expand. If you click on this, it says everything he's been doing lately. Like this lady, I was commenting on her. I think this is a great example. Have any of you seen my LinkedIn activity recently? I was introducing this girl. She was a student. Well, 4 years of school. She applied to over almost 500 job applications, failed, rejected from almost 500. She got 54 interviews, but then she was rejected. Finally, after all of that, she got one and was successful with Samsung. So her dream was to work with Samsung. She got it. She's very happy, but it doesn't come unless you're really prepared. There are a lot of things you can connect with and learn from this student, from this person. What can you learn? Keep trying, number one. Don't give up, but let's go down. She is, first and foremost, she's thanking Lindsay, Michael, Carol, Becky, Brian, Nell. She's thanking many people that helped her. Anybody that's introducing, anybody that's helping, she's thanking them. So she's promoting them at the same time. And this whole idea, she's promoting the company. Most people in 2021, 2022, they live online. They are working online. If you promote them online, they will get benefit. They should appreciate you. That's one way to get closer to them. Promote the company. Paul is working with the company. If you're promoting the company stories, that's one connection. If you're connected to other people, that's another connection. So that's one thing. And she's working with Samsung. There's another one. This is also, she's talking about it. He's talking about it. Here's another one where he's saying he likes this. Another person was broke applying the job, but he was able to have details how to get hired. This is more part of his job. He's promoting Samsung's stories about sustainability. Everybody in Samsung should be saying good things about their company. If you say bad things and make anybody in Korea look bad or embarrassed, like if you say Pepsi is better than Coke, you could go to jail. You know that, right? 7 years in jail. I'm not joking. There's defamation laws. You're not allowed to make anybody or anything look bad. So you can't say anything bad about companies or people in Korea. Many countries have those laws in Asia. But you can say, of course, many good things about companies all the time. He's promoting something about sustainability. So if you are interested in sustainability and he's also interested in sustainability, even though your dream is to talk about something else, survey something else, you can use this as an excuse. Next, here's another story about how Samsung is ranked #1. Sorry, the top 5 brands for Interbrand. There's lots of things. So if you go through and you find these stories that he's either writing or promoting, and you connect with these, that is another way to be connected. If you start sharing or liking the same things, he's going to see that and be more interested in connecting with you. Ultimately, I think the best thing to do is have some connections from many likes or overlap, and then show you have a lot of these very valuable articles. But with cross-cultural communications, how many people in the world know of Scopus? How many of you ever heard of Scopus before September? None of you? They're only aware of, by geeks, nerds know about it. So when you talk to the world, you should tell them this is the world's most respected, most reliable, checked by other experts before it's published. Most books even are not checked by experts. They're just, if you write a book, a publisher likes it, they'll print it. It's not checked by anybody. Most magazines are not checked by experts. Some, like Scopus, are checked by 2 of the world's best experts before it's published. That's why it's reliable and respected. So if you talk about how it's some of the world's best, or it's the best benchmarking practices, and how it's so very valuable, you give them that, then they should be interested. That's one way to connect. That's the overall idea for surveying. If you want, I can share with you a lot more information, like in here, it talks about surveying. I think we talked about this a little bit before our break. Do any of you have your surveys that you would like to share your information? No? You haven't completed it? You guys do know that week 9 is 10 marks for talking about it?
I said combine.
Finish?
No, it should be okay. It's not.
Analyzed it?
Yeah, analyze.
Okay. You're still waiting for more results. Okay, remember with your communications in our class, I expect, I don't want to insult you. Let's say this student, I expect this student, I want this student, day one, to give me a lot of garbage. I want them to give me as shitty a report as they can. That's good. That's the dream. That's the desire. Second class, give me a little bit less shitty. Third class, less shitty. Keep getting less and less shitty, less shitty, less shitty. So eventually you're getting better and better and better. Don't be afraid to make mistakes in the middle of the semester. The only thing that's really important is your very last day, your very last presentation, right? So you are practicing giving shitty details, and it's not to me, right? You're not communicating with me. You should not worry about the university. You should worry about who you care about presenting with. So whatever is your dream goal, whoever you want to survey or interact with or work with in the future, plan to give your paper to them. I'm just helping you form it. And everything until the 14th week, or if you're smarter, hand it in the 13th week or the 12th week, because in my experience, many people wait for the very last day. We run out of time. You can't present, you can't get the marks. So start presenting early, like today, share what you have and find out from other people how you can make it better. Every time you present, try to get more feedback than information you give. Try to find out what is their value. Remember why we talked about this, why we talk about culture? My culture is only my culture. You guys don't really care what I do outside. You don't really care what I'm thinking about too much. You care more about what you like. So you must understand that other person, if that's who you want to work with, what do they like? What is their style? What is their communication style, learning style, interest style, work style? What do they want? And work in a mutually beneficial way when you're communicating. Nobody wants to practice sharing your details. What about online? Going once. Anybody online? No? I guess we're up to the review. The last week, before your break, we talked about nonverbal communications, cross-cultural communication without words. How? How can you communicate without words? Body language, yes. Body language is one. What's another? Absolutely, yes. Your appearance, your logos, your images, absolutely. That speaks a lot. Have you ever noticed on the street in central farmland Korea, people are more relaxed? Have you been into downtown Seoul, Myeongdong, Gangnam, Uido areas? You probably won't see the same style of image clothes. What style of clothes will you see there? Almost only brand name, famous brand name clothes. Why? Body language on the microphone. Yes, the image is incredibly important in Korea. Very, very important. You will see a lot more name brands in Korea than many other countries. Because number one, it's orientation. Because you're part of a company like Samsung, you're supposed to look like number one. Even if you're going hiking, you're supposed to look like brand name number one fashion hiking clothes. Driving a car, you're supposed to have the number one brand name style of car. Your cell phones, you're supposed to have the number one Samsung style of things. So you're supposed to have number one. A lot of Korea is the same way. It's shocking so much so that even if you go and you see somebody, they could have a Louis Vuitton bag worth $10,000 and Louis Vuitton clothes and shoes worth many thousands of dollars, but they're actually home where they live is not very luxurious. It could be very sad. So the public image is very, very important. Clothes. Gestures, body language, yes, gestures, anything else? Just being silent, just using body language. If I didn't speak, I would ask you, what's another one? And just keep waiting and waiting. You would give me more and more and more just because I'm silent. So, time, eye contact, smell, color, touch, body language, space, objects, signs, symbols. Many of these things are ways to communicate. Can you give me a question? Which one would you like to explain or talk about? Time, do you understand? Eye contact, smell, color, touch, body language, space. How does this work? Objects, how does this work? How are they international communication? Any questions about these?
Space, what is it about?
Okay, let's say this is you, okay? I'm not going to go to you because of coronavirus and you might have diseases and because I can't get filmed as much. But if this was you in the chair and I'm here talking, are you comfortable? You are sitting in the chair and I'm teaching here. Would you be comfortable?
Yeah.
What about now? Tell me when you're feeling different.
There. Yeah.
How would you feel?
Uncomfortable.
Can you explain why?
Because it's so close.
What does that mean? Some people in Korea, this is not too close. Some people in Korea, my side, I don't know if you can see me on the camera, but they can have their hand on another person's leg or holding hands. When I was here in 1995, almost no other foreigners, a lot of Koreans, sometimes they'd be afraid of me. And then as soon as they realize they don't need to be afraid of me, they want to be my best friend. I've had thousands of people come up to me and ask, can I be your best friend? Like, no, you freak. But they would put their hand on my leg, just trying to be nice as a nice person. It is okay. It's not sexual. It's not homosexual or gay or LGBT, whatever that is. It's just part of being close in Korea. That's okay here. If I did it in Texas, there would be a fight, right? So there are differences with space. Some of the other things. What about the idea of time? You guys can assume if you have a meeting at 3 o'clock in Korea, what time should you arrive?
On time.
Okay, before is very general word.
Like,
3 days before, 1 month before,
maybe 5 minutes before.
5 minutes
like,
before, or right at 3 o'clock?
It's at 3 o'clock and it starts at 3 o'clock. It's not like you get there at 3 o'clock.
Okay, what about in another country? Any ideas about that?
Which country?
I think I have kind of a one of my professors is from you have a meeting with one of his friends and they say
Good. So here's an example. In the United States, being late for anything is viewed as rude. It's basically the same thing as going like this. You're not supposed to be late. It's also thought to be you are insensitive behavior. You don't care about me. So the person is disorganized. You can't manage yourself. You are kind of like not a good person. But in Germany, in Swiss, they're even more time sensitive or time conscious. They said Singapore, Hong Kong is also very punctual. Some people move very quickly in Korea. Time is important. But they say in Hong Kong and in Singapore, it's even faster. Some people actually measure how fast an elevator moves or how fast the escalator, the moving sidewalk or the moving stairs, how fast those move. They say it moves faster in Korea than it does in Canada or USA, much faster than in Mexico. But Singapore and Hong Kong, the average escalator moves much faster than even here. So time is different based on those things. What about Algerians or Latin Americans? Arab cultures are usually saying that they have a casual attitude towards time. They don't care as much about it. You could probably understand that. That's the meeting idea. What about your thought of time? Not meetings, how you create a new idea. When you look at a TV show, when you read a book, do you know that your brain is probably created because of some aspect of time? For example, in China, and a large part in Korea, a lot of the movies are made from like 100 years ago. Have you guys been watching a lot of K-drama, Korean dramas? A lot of them are based back when there was an emperor and knights and horses and things like that. They're based off the past. A lot of Koreans and Chinese think based on the past. In the past, we did it this way. We kept doing it this way. We will continue doing it based on this way. What about in USA or Canada? How are those movies made? How are those decisions usually made? What do children usually look at? In China, one of the most popular Chinese comics, for example, was The Monkey King, which is about many, many years ago, long time ago in history. There was a Monkey King which created the world, and many things follow the same style as the Monkey King. What are the comics made in USA? Are the comics made in Canada? Superheroes like Monkey Kings?
No, like futuristic.
Futuristic. Okay, can you give some examples?
Iron Man?
Iron Man is today, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's today. A very lucky, good engineer today, yes? What are some other cartoons in North America? Maybe also even in Europe.
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, that's also sort of today. Iron Man and Spider-Man, those are people living today that just had some special luck or accident today. What about Superman? That's the future, right? Or the idea of, have you guys even heard of the Jetsons? Where people are flying in cars? Their family lives in the space bubble. Every time they go out to play soccer, they're wearing a spacesuit. A lot of the comics are based in the future in North America. So that when we're talking about time, it's not just meetings. Your brain decides things because of a certain way. In North America, your brain decides things. What are you going to do based off of what I want from the future? A lot of Canadians plan so much in the future for retirement, for example. They're always thinking about, I need to do something because I want to retire in 20 years, I want to retire in 10 years, I want to retire in 5 years, so I have to do these things. Versus in other countries that are more relaxed, they'll do things differently, or they will do things based off of the past, even the weather prediction. So those are some examples. This week, what are we supposed to be looking at? Intercultural negotiations. Talk to me. Do you need to negotiate with me? Yes, for what? For business, you want to do business with me? Great, interesting. I love business, but I have no idea what business you're going to do. So what do you want to negotiate? It's going to be hard because I don't know you with business. Recycling business? Oh, okay. I was thinking class grades and points, but sure, I love business all the time. Yes, you need to negotiate with me for grades. How can you do it? What is negotiation? Teach me. Like we talked about just communication, what do you have to think about? Now, this week and next week, we're going to talk about negotiating. What are things to think about when you negotiate? Is time important? No. What am I doing right now? Isn't this an image? Me laughing, me going like this with body language that is intimidating him in the negotiating process. So he said something, I said something, or even didn't say something. Who are you going to vote for? Is time in negotiation? He says no. I just laugh. What do you think?
Don't know.
Because you're a professor, they like.
Okay, so the image or the age is also related to negotiation.
Yes.
So age is, time is. What about, where is your hometown? France? Somewhere? Somewhere in France. And you're temporarily living in Korea for what? Let's say I'm from Canada and you're working for Samsung. What is your ideal job?
Being a game developer.
Being a what?
Being a game developer.
A game developer. So you're working for some game developer company from Korea and you come to visit me in Toronto, Canada. We have a meeting where I can invest in his game or buy his game or start working for his game because he wants to work with me or he wants me to invest in. You understand the details? When you come to Toronto, do you really think time is not important? How long are you going to stay in Toronto? You buy a plane ticket, you buy a hotel ticket. How many days is the hotel ticket?
Okay.
How many days is the company going to pay you to be there? If the company pays you to be there 2 or 3 days, your first day, you're relaxed with the negotiation. Second day, you're getting a little more stressed. Third day, you're like, hurry up, give me the negotiation, right? So time definitely can impact negotiations. That same negotiation. What if I come to Korea to negotiate with him? It would be the opposite, right? What if we meet in Hawaii, in the middle? That would have a difference. So that location also impacts negotiation. So we talked about time going to Canada or time going here. You have a question? I can't hear you. Oh, okay, you can just stop and record again. And another thing, when we're talking about the location, time is important for how many days you stay in a hotel room. What else impacts the negotiation? If he comes to Toronto, what else will impact? His company wants to buy my company or buy my app. What else would impact the negotiations? Maybe you haven't spent too much time there, but what about almost any company going to do business in China? When you go there, who do you meet? How many people do you meet? How high a level of people do you meet? If you usually go like this business trip or game development to go to China, do you think you would meet one person or 2 or many?
One person maybe. I don't know.
Usually you're correct. You would meet a team, many people. How does that make you feel? How does a team of people versus him, one person alone, who has better negotiation power?
Team.
The team, because they feel like they control more. That's one thing. But if he sees this team is more powerful, but yet he wants to be powerful, do you understand that he would try to be bigger too? He'd try to be more confident to get the deal done. So the number of people around, even if I'm bringing other idiots to the meeting, he would still change his thinking style, his negotiation style, his thought style, just because there's 2 or 3 people with me and he's alone. What about as we started with the silence? If we go to negotiation, does silence help? It could help somehow. It could help or hinder, such as. Right. So I want to, I don't know, I want to sell my shoe. And I'm selling my shoe to you. You love my shoe. You want to buy my shoe or my jacket. You ask me how much. I'm trying to sell it to you. I say at the beginning, $500. Will you buy it? I can't see she has a mask on, but I think she's smiling and almost laughing. $500 for that? No way. What if I just be quiet? Usually the price will get lowered. Right. Then I would ask you, okay, how much do you want to pay? And then what would you say to buy my jacket? Any price, just play a game. $50. Oh my God. $50. Great. And then if I just stay quiet, what would happen? Would you, if you're shopping and this happens, would your price stay the same? Usually you would change the price. If you really want to buy it and I stay quiet, you would raise your price, raise it a little bit more. I just have to shake my head, give you strange eye looks, wait another 10 seconds, you'd raise it more. Then you'd say something, I'd say, give you more strange eye looks, another 10 seconds, you'd raise your price more. So that idea of silence definitely impacts negotiation. What else? Let's take a story. These are 2 people. They're walking down the street together. Let's say it's a guy and a girl. You have never met them before in your life. You're just walking on the street too. You're walking here, they're walking there. You see that they're sort of talking, and then you're about to pass them, and you see one person starts crying. Ah! So this person starts crying. Yes. What is this person going to do? Okay. Okay. And next. Consolate them. Okay. And this person just starts crying. You don't know anything about them. You've never met them before, but you guess this person was with them. They're going to do what after they start crying? That's it. It's just crying. Okay, help. Like what?
Like why you just said, trying to talk to them.
Okay.
Understand what they're upset.
Okay, and I'm using silence now. And whatever you're saying, and would you be surprised if this person starts giving this person, I don't know, a massage, or holds the hand, or rubs their back, which is generally a nice thing to do? So initially they weren't doing anything. This person just started to keep the tears coming, and all of a sudden they get a free massage. If it keeps happening, let's say it was a kid, would you be surprised if this person buys them a chocolate bar or buys them a balloon? So this person, a little bit of waterworks, they get a free prize, they get a free snack, they get a free present, right? So why do people say in negotiations, you should not use emotion? You should not. One more time. Why do some people say emotions are bad in negotiation? Because this person, whether they are crying for real or they're pretending, doesn't matter. They still get more benefit from that other person. If you are at work and you start crying, do you not think the people around you would bring you a coffee or bring you a drink or tell you to go take a break, go relax? That's like a holiday, right? So you get benefits because of it. I'm not saying lie, I'm not saying cheat, I'm just saying think how negotiation works, especially in other cultures with other people. Does it matter if it's a guy or a girl? In Korea, you come from France, you want to do this game negotiation, and most people internationally, they would think in Korea, a guy manager would do the serious business. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but Korea has one of the world's biggest gender inequality. There's a big gender issue in Korea. And so usually guys have the powerful position. So you would expect the guy to come. Why? Why is a guy supposed to be better at negotiating in Korea? What is the thought process?
Also, again, the hierarchy, the levels.
Okay, some people say guys are hierarchical, more powerful than girls. Good, that's one. What's another? What impacts negotiation? Drinking, alcohol. A lot of people say the sales and negotiations in Korea usually are done out in a bar or a room salon or talanjujang. Those types of places is where you go, and when you're still sober, you don't usually talk too much business. At the beginning, you just talk about, hi, how are you? Have some delicious food. Eventually, after you get really close, which means eventually after time goes by, you drink a lot, you get drunk, and then you start talking about money. Some people think girls can't do that. Girls can't drink as much as guys. Yes?
Sorry to interrupt, but I have another class.
Okay, yes, you're right. Class is finished. I just wanted you guys to start thinking about what is involved with negotiation. Next week, when we're talking about it, and next class, we'll be going through more of the steps.